In this position, Capablanca sacrificed the queen and played queen takes b5. What? Wait. This is an endgame series, right? Yes. And it's for Capablanca, not for Tal. Yes. And he sacrificed the queen. Yes. But for the sake to go to a better endgame. But let's see the game from the beginning. Capablanca played against the same player, Corzo, in the same year, probably in the same tournament. And Capablanca started with d4. After d5, knight f3, knight f3, c5, and he went to play e3 in order to support the center, and played kind of queen's gambit declined reversed. So knight c6. After that, Capablanca played b3, and this is called kind of Tartakover. After e3, d4, the bishop has no longer access to that diagonal. So b3, one of the ideas is to go bishop b2, followed by somehow dc5 somehow, in order to improve the bishop along this diagonal, or maybe supporting the control over the e5 square. No problem, e6 happened, bishop e2, knight f6, and continuing the development with knight b to d2. And now c takes d4. After c takes d4, e takes d4, Capablanca said, because here's like a crossroad, yeah? I mean, either you take with the knight and keeping this diagonal open, or you take with the pawn and control the e5 square even more, with the help of the bishop and the pawn. Bishop d6 happened, and then bishop d3, improving the bishop. Castling short. And here there is a famous plan for white. Black should not play a passive chess, like bishop d7. This is kind of a mistaken approach, because white has this idea, which is knight e5, and after say queen c7, for example, ideas like f4 maybe. Yes, now knight b4 is a threat, or is an idea to get rid of the bishop, but if you did not do this, and if you play something passive like that, and you allowed a3, then there's no knight b4. White has this idea of rook f3, rook h3, g4, g5, followed by queen h5, with a crazy strong attack along the king side. That's why Black decided to play knight h5, with the idea to go knight f4, and sometimes f5, block this diagonal, and maybe if knight e5 there are ideas like f6 maybe. Capablanca said g3, no more knight f4, and Corzo said f5, no more attacks along this diagonal. Completely understood, knight e5. Now the knight on h5 is under fire, so knight f6, the knight went back, and now f4. Yes, I'm giving you this pawn or this square, but I'm supporting my knight on e5. Bishop takes e5, f takes e5, attacking the knight, and now instead of knight e4, which was the best move, he played knight g4, which is a bit weird, yeah? Anyhow, queen e2 happened, improving the queen, supporting the pawn, make a connection between the rooks, and now queen b6. The threat is knight takes e5. Why is that a threat? Because the queen is pinning this pawn with the king. So knight f3, supporting the e5 pawn. Bishop d7 happened. Ideas again like knight b4, attacking the bishop, followed by bishop b5 is there. So simply a3, which is a typical move in such a structure. Now after a3, Black played king h8, which seems completely fine. Like, why king h8? Because I wanted to maybe prepare ideas like g5, f4, do some attacking ideas. And the king here is safe because d4 and d5 blocking this diagonal very much. So after king h8, white played h3, kicking the knight away. The knight went back to h6. And now Capablanca played queen f2, improving the queen a bit. Knight f7 back, king g2, improving the king, away with that diagonal of the queen, and g5 actually happened. And after g5, Capablanca played a very interesting positional move, g4. The point is, in order to open that diagonal for the bishop, and if you go like f takes g4, then h takes g4, rook h1 is coming with the help of the bishop, it will be the end of the game. That's why after g4, Black played knight e7 in order to support the f5 pawn, so at least this bishop is not that much of active. And Capablanca here played queen e3. It's kind of provoking f4, so after f4 I'll go back, and ideas like h4 is coming, yeah, just preparing for that. Sometimes you could prepare with rook h2, rook a to h1, etc. So after queen e3, Corzo understood that, and he played rook g8, supporting the g5 pawn. And now bring the last piece into the game, rook a to e1. After rook a to e1, Corso noticed that the f4 square is weak, so knight g6 attacking here. G takes f5 because the f5 square is weakened. Knight f4 check, it's fine, it's just a check. King h8, king h2. And after king h2, knight d3. The point is, after king h3, queen d3, queen takes, e takes f5, there is ideas like bishop to b5. But here Capablanca, in order to improve the bishop, he decided to play c4. By the way, you cannot take easily because, first of all, I could take with the queen, and then you cannot prevent d5 followed by e6. And this bishop actually is a monster along this diagonal. Your king is in a very bad situation. That's why after c4, Corso played queen e6 in order to maintain a block on the d4 pawn. So c takes d5 happened, queen takes d5 happened, and now a very strong move was e6. The point is, you cannot take with the bishop because I will take rook takes e6, and after queen takes e6, white to play and win. Exactly. Aren't you subscribed yet to the channel? What are you waiting for? This is a very, very interesting and instructive series. d5 check and you lose the queen. Oh. Got it. So after e6, black played bishop to b5 first, attacking the queen and the rook in the meantime. And here we reached the position where we started the game. And in this position, actually what's interesting about it, it's not in this position. It's already decided before reaching this position that Capablanca wanted to sacrifice the queen. But for what? For a piece. Yes, for a piece. But it's not over yet because after queen takes b5, which is the only move, now d5 is super strong. And after d5, black sooner or later has to play this move, which is rook g7. Yes, I have a one piece and I have another one. And an exchange that can be taken anytime. And maybe rook e8 is an idea, so the queen has to remain along this diagonal. Black said it's fine, I'll go h6 in order to go king h7 and kind of free the king along this diagonal, but knight d4 happened, a very strong move. Using the fact that we are attacking the queen, so we're not giving you time to stabilize the position, and knight f5 is there and knight e6 is there. And now actually the only move in order to survive the game, other than that, white is completely winning. For example, if queen c5, ideas like knight takes f5 and the rook will be taken for free, this is actually a very, very strong passer. It's just losing, yeah, materially losing. That's why, after knight d4, Corso was forced to play queen takes f1. And actually, this is kind of a forced line, yeah? After queen takes f1, rook takes f1, rook takes f7, and we reached this ending, in which white has two pieces versus a rook. But what makes this interesting is that white has a passed pawn. And see how Capablanca played it. Rook takes f5. The point of rook takes f5, normally you need to keep the rook, because a knight and a bishop against a rook is not that well cooperative, yeah? You need the rook in order to support them. But now, see this is a very, very nice idea. Rook takes f5, rook takes f5, knight takes f5 check, king h7, and now a brilliant move. I'll give you time to stop the video and try to find the move, but the move was, are you ready? Knight e7. What? Why knight e7? Because now after knight e7, this king is in a cage. It's just present. How's that? From here or here cannot move, and to g7 you cannot move, so the king cannot participate in the game. It's not only that, I am in the meantime supporting my pawn, and if it happened and you attack my knight, the bishop can come to deliver a defense. d6 probably is a choice, but that's completely enough to like kind of squeeze black, yeah? What an idea. So after knight e7, Corso played rook f8, trying for some tricks. Rook f2 is a threat, king g2, and now h5. And Capablanca simply played d6. I will support the pawn, and if you attack the pawn, I can simply support the pawn who supports the knight, and your king is blocked. What makes this position interesting is that even after g4, I can go h4, adding more block to the cage. From here you cannot go, from here you cannot go, from here you cannot go, rather than from here. So after d6, g4 happened. Yes, h4 is completely winning, one of the best moves, but Capablanca took, and after taking back, now he played bishop e5. The point is to go d7, followed by bishop c7, and improve the queen, or queen, promote, yeah? So king h6 is played. Question, what if rook f3? The point is, if d7, there is rook d3. And to control the pawn from the behind, here, white has a brilliant move, which is bishop d4. The point is, if you go rook d3, trying to attack the bishop, there is knight f5. You go king g7, thank you, king g6, thank you, d7, d8, queen, you cannot prevent that. So after bishop e5, king h6 is played, trying to improve the king. Though, even after king g7, see, cannot go here, cannot go here, cannot go here. What's this? This is amazing, yeah? So after king h6, Capablanca played d7. But wait a second, I can go rook d8 and now the pawn cannot be protected, right? No, it's not right. Because there's this idea, knight g8 check. What? Knight g8 check? Yes. What's the point? The point is, if you do nothing, if you did not take the knight, then knight f6 is coming, like king g6, knight f6. The pawn is protected, my next move is bishop c7. For example, this, that. If you take, I take. Yes, you can go here, but maybe bishop takes b6, and then bishop takes, and two passers, yeah? So, after knight g8, black decided to take, but there's this idea of bishop c7, or sorry, bishop f6. It's probably the same. Wanted to queen. King g6, queening, take, take. And now in this position, b5 is played. Now focus, listen. Now white is completely winning. What I wanted you to do is to stop the counterplay for black. What is the counterplay for black? Is to go with the king to attack these pawns. Because if that happened, white might not win the game. Black might survive. And this is actually the golden rule in converting the advantages. What should you do? You need to stop any possible counterplay. So here after b5, Capablanca played king f2. The point is, when you go king f5, hoping for king e4, you are not allowed to do so. King e5, king d3. King d5, king c3. So you don't have counterplay on the queen side. On the king side, after g3, I could simply go bishop h4. You go g2, bishop f2. I stop your counterplay. I'm attacking the pawn, you push. And now b4. By the way, note that again, this bishop has a wrong corner, yeah? So this is very important information. That's why Capablanca played b4, hoping for AB, AB. Then there will be no longer an opposite colored corner. So king e4 happened, and now simply bishop b6. Because again, if you take, this is draw, yeah? The king will go back, and it will be most likely a draw. That's why after bishop b4, bishop b6. And now king d5, king d3. It's just actually a waiting move with the bishop, like bishop g1, king d5, and now waiting move with the bishop, bishop h2. You go back, I improve. You go king e4, I could make a waiting move, but no need. King e5, improving the king. King b6, king d5, king a6, king c5. Next move, the king has to move, and this pawn will be taken. This is also, and white will be completely winning. This is game number 2 out of this series, 60 best in games by Capablanca. I hope you learned something out of it. How to make a connection between the rook versus, or a knight and the bishop versus a rook. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to rewatch or to visit the channel to watch the whole series. It's on your left. And thanks for watching. See you in another one.